Welcome to episode 459 of Get Paid for Your Pad, episode of the host show. And today we're going to talk about how to create a world-class guest experience on Airbnb. And we got a true expert here on the show today, Mr. Bryce Kano. Kano, is that how you pronounce it?
Kano, but
Kano.
I let people say whatever they want.
All right. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like my first name is being pronounced in the 100 different ways by Starbucks employees. So
yeah, sure.
But yeah, man, welcome to the show. We're going to talk about how to create a world-class guest experience. And I know that you know how to do that because a couple of weeks ago, Eric and I were chatting on the podcast, and he mentioned that he had stayed at one of the homes that you actually designed and managed. It's called the Retrograde Retreat in Joshua Tree. And Eric mentioned to me, and this is the reason that we talked about it on the podcast too, is that his girlfriend pretty much started crying when she arrived at the Airbnb because she felt like, wow, this is completely designed for me. And that's really special. And that's really the goal of any Airbnb, is to really understand your guest avatar that well, that you can create an experience that your avatar literally thinks like, wow, this is specifically created for me. So awesome job on that. And I'm excited to pick your brain and to learn how we can do that and how the listeners can do that. So excited to dive into that. But give us a quick background of yourself and what you do with your business.
Yeah. So first off, appreciate all that. Part of the reason why we're chatting right now is just because I heard you guys talking about one of our properties, and I reached out, and it's kind of a thank you and everything. And so that's exactly what we're looking for with every experience that we can kind of put out there. Obviously, we had no idea Eric was who he was or anything when we were doing that. It's kind of just how we treat everybody. But it's really nice to see some sort of feedback like that, right? You always try, and sometimes you don't succeed, but as long as you're trying and you're getting some of that feedback from people, it starts to feel really good and kind of shows that all the work you put in is worth it, right? But so I'm actually the founder of Hugh Home Rentals. I've been kind of in the real estate kind of tech and travel spaces for a long time. Basically, since I was in college, I've been working with different startups and stuff, all centered around this type of thing. But yeah, basically, Hugh Home Rentals is we call kind of a listing management service. Kind of the bread and butter of our service is helping you set up and optimize and run your Airbnb account. Depending on the certain areas that we're in, we do have kind of really good connections with, local people to help with real estate, with, setting up properties, with, managing those properties. We also do social media and branding and PR and all that type of stuff, right? For us, it's kind of a multi-pronged approach for everything. We see the value in, all these little things that all add up to, make this awesome guest experience for people. But yeah, I'd say the biggest thing is just making sure you've got a really good team around you. The end of the day, you're going to be really good at certain aspects of, this Airbnb model, right? And I think sometimes the mistake a lot of people make is trying to do everything themselves. And the quicker you can kind of find out what you're really good at and find people to take over the rest of that and put trust in them for that, the better you're going to be, right? We made I think we talked about the other day, we made the mistake early on, a few years ago with another company that we'd done, trying to do everything ourselves. And really where we become successful with Hugh Home Rentals is just sticking to what we're really good at and outsourcing some of the rest of it. And obviously we've got kind of our hands and our brains in all of the other stuff as well, in terms of piecing it together and kind of giving people feedback and our experience with all of it as well. But you can't do it without a really, really great team.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us a little bit more about the Retrograde Retreat, and for people who are listening, check out this Airbnb listing. If you put it in Google, Retrograde Retreat, it will show up. Just put Joshua Tree there because that's where it's located. I was able to find it really quickly, so definitely worth taking a look at that Airbnb listing because it's really well created, but also the design and the layout of the unit and as well is really incredible. So, yeah, give us some more detail on what is the Retrograde Retreat.
Yeah, so Retrograde Retreat is actually our newest listing that we've launched out in Joshua Tree. And, as much as we'd love to take, full responsibility for how great it's done, like I said, it's all about having a really good team around you. And so the owner, her name's Betty, and she has her own kind of company called Stay a While Cabins, which she has some cabins in the Big Bear area as well. She's kind of growing out her own business side of this whole thing and owning these different units. But she also has kind of come to the conclusion where you've got to have a good team around you, right? And so she hired us while she was in escrow on this property that she purchased out in Joshua Tree, which soon became Retrograde Retreat. And we went back and forth with just all these different ideas on how to essentially take this property from just a house on a bunch of dirt to an experience, right? And so her and I have had countless conversations over the phone, just throwing ideas back and forth. And so we kind of came up with all these different amenities that we have. And even what you see out there right now is just phase one. So right now we've got a saloon, we've got a deck that's got a hot tub built into it, a Cowboy Tub, which is super important, or which is super popular out in Joshua Tree. It's got like a kind of a hanging bed that you can kind of lay out there under the stars. It's got an outdoor eating area that's also got some string lights around it. It's got another bar area that's got built-in barbecue and hanging swinging chairs that you can kind of sit out and look out at the desert. It's got a built-in fire pit, so it's got a lot of stuff already, right? But beginning of May, we're adding what's called a mod pool, which is one of those shipping container pools with like the glass front to it, building a big deck around it. The other side of that's going to have an outdoor movie theater, so you can sit out there and under the stars and watch movies and stuff. And so a lot of that was just kind of out of necessity too, which is something we've been really lucky with, is doing so much stuff in Joshua Tree where it's needed, right, to compete out there. It's kind of at the forefront of these experiential properties. And so since day one, we've always had to come up with new ideas to stand out there and offer another experience for people that they can't get anywhere else. And so it's kind of really helped us hone in these skills of coming up with ideas to add to these properties. And each property that we kind of work with new owners on, we're always adding, kind of pushing the limits and trying to add new experiences for people, because once you kind of come up with an idea, it's pretty funny how quickly a bunch of other properties in that area start to pop up with the similar type amenities, right? And so you got to really think about it as a business, and everybody else out there or every other house is a competing business. And so to do that, you have to stand out. And so in terms of the build out of the property, right, that was us working hand in hand kind of with the owner, Betty. She kind of ran the crews out there and really put her touch on the style of everything. That looks fantastic. And then talking about other experiences, we've got a really, really great local manager. His name's Austin, who runs all of our local management out there. And, he, again, understands creating that ambiance for people when they walk into a property, and kind of going above and beyond. And so, starts with having really, really good cleans, one, right? So that people aren't, coming into a property and, thinking that it's dirty or, not maintained, and goes all the way to, if we find out that it's someone's birthday or they're celebrating something, or, anything that we can kind of think of to send over something for them during their stay, whether it's a bottle of wine or a cake or a charcuterie board or, just anything to go above and beyond. And that's how, Eric kind of found us, I guess, or started talking about it was, we'd found out, we saw in the app that they were celebrating her birthday. And so we sent over a charcuterie board and a bottle of wine for them. And it just really made them happy, and that's kind of what we strive for, is not only to create these amazing experiences with the property, but the stay and, check in and, check out. It's really from booking the property all the way through, check out and beyond. Right. And that's also social media and everything kind of comes into play. We really want to create this experience as soon as they book. We're in the midst of creating a bunch of promotional videos for all of our properties as well. And so as soon as someone books, we'll get their email address, we'll email it to them, gives them the opportunity to really start getting excited about what this property is and what they can experience while they're there. And they can share it with their friends and other guests and everything. And from the very beginning, if you can get people excited about a property, it really starts their experience from there. And that's what we're striving for.
What's a Cowboy Tub?
So it's essentially a big stock tank, right? So a lot of ranches and stuff use them to feed their horses or water their horses or whatever. And someone at some point out in Joshua Tree said, hey, this is a great idea to turn into a pool. And so it's a big kind of silver metal thing, and you're able to fill it up with water. They even have the ability to put add-ons for heaters and cleaners and all that stuff into them. But it's really popular out there just because it's kind of a trendy thing.
So it's essentially a cold plunge.
Essentially, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are really popular right now. Have you heard of the guy called Wim Hof?
I have not, no.
Just kind of funny side story, but he's known as like the Iceman. And
okay.
He started this movement a while ago. He's from Holland. We always considered him kind of like the crazy guy, but now he's gotten really popular all around the world. So like, he takes people out to like Canada and like walks in the snow barefoot and sits in cold plunges for days and ice baths and whatnot. So anyway, that's just a whole different conversation. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I know that cold plunges have gotten really, really popular. I was listening to an episode on Joe Rogan with a guy called David Sinclair, and he's a longevity expert. He does all these experiments to figure out how humans can live longer. And apparently daily cold exposure turns on certain processes in your body that will stimulate your cells to clean themselves up or something like that. Anyway, apparently you jump in a cold plunge every day, you might live longer.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I'll have to check out that theory, I guess. But yeah, I mean, that's basically what it is. I mean, when you're out in the desert like that, you have to have some sort of cold water feature for them to be able to cool off in during the summer. And that's just a really cheap, easy way to get it done. And you start thinking about experiences and stuff. And so, it started out as someone just stuck one in their backyard, right? You can fill it up with a hose while you're there and kind of sitting there. And it's kind of expanded to this now, like what we have, where you've got, a big deck around it. And, we even just sent somebody in to paint the side of it with the logo and kind of some stuff. And I've seen people paint the bottom of it so that, when you do an aerial shot, you can see down and kind of see this design at the bottom of it. So it's really kind of expanded. And so, it wasn't always needed to have a pool out there in terms of, again, kind of thinking back to the business side of it, right? Competition wise. About a year ago, I had looked at, some data, and it was like 4% of houses out there had pools. Now that's somewhere closer to like 15-20%. And so when you start to see that, especially when the low season out in Joshua Tree is summertime, you start to have these things to compete, right? And so that's kind of the cheapest way to do it. A lot of people are starting to put in-ground pools in, and then you're starting to see some of these mod pools kind of pop up because they cost around the same as an in-ground pool, but it's a different experience that you can't have just at home, And so That's why we're always trying to think of like, okay, what's the best way to utilize this budget that we have to create these experiences that, people are going to want to talk about, people that are going to want to, post about. We always talk about Instagrammability of it, right? And so that's kind of the basis behind everything that we're thinking of doing to a property is what's the best way to utilize this budget to create the best experience that this person wouldn't be able to get anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely managed to do that. I mean, I'm scrolling through the pictures on your Airbnb listing, and the things that you mentioned. There's a hot tub, there's the cold plunge or the Cowboy Tub.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a fire pit, and they're all in separate areas. So it's really cool, and I like how you guys have like several aerial photos of the whole
Mm-hmm.
property, so you can clearly see like, oh, that's how the layout is. There's so many things to do. It seems like there's this outdoor shower. There's the bed, the hanging bed that's outside. There's a couple chairs there. There's the bar with the barbecue as well. There's a little area where you could like fresh up or like put in your makeup. There's a mirror there. So there's just like all these little things that you can do outside. Which, as you said, it's all about, that's what it's all about, right? It's like all about those little experiences. And it seems like you've been able to kind of gather a whole lot of little different experiences in that outdoor area.
Yeah. And that's another thing, like any property that we're working on and, talk to the owners about kind of building out. For me, I mean, what I always try to do is like, hey, what would me and my friends want to go do? Right.
Mm-hmm.
What would excite us? A lot of times, I'm kind of that, age of, the people that are going out there. And so I tend to understand it a little bit more. And so it's like when you see an area, no matter how big or small it is, right? Or even if it's just, a condo, right? And you've got, an extra bedroom or something, right? It's like, how can you utilize and separate this space into a bunch of smaller spaces and create experiences in each one of those spaces, right? Because if you can do that, then you're starting to, be on the right track in terms of, getting people excited to go stay at this one spot. Right. And so like we have another property in Joshua Tree, it's called Pride House. And it's very small. It's 2-bedroom. But even right when you walk in, the front door to the left, it's got this little table that's shaped like it looks like an ice cream cone. Right. And so it's like, you sit down there and you can imagine people wanting to take social media pictures there, right? We've got a pink bathtub in the backyard, right? So it's all about taking these little small spaces and thinking about like, what's the best use of this space in terms of creating an experience for, the guests that are going to stay here.
Yeah, that's Pride House. Is it PRIDEH?
And then HAUS, yeah.
With a little flamingo
emoticon. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm checking that out right now. Actually, that looks really definitely looks really cute, and that's a big thing too. Is like is thinking that way of like what's Instagrammable, like what would people want to put on Instagram? Because nowadays that's kind of the first thing that people want to do when they arrive. At the Airbnb, it's like, how can I show this off to my friends and on Instagram, right? So, I also noticed there's a photo in there with an actual person, in that bathtub. Is that something that that you do a lot, having framed photos or photos with people in them?
Yeah, we try to. So we do a lot of influencer stays, again, on the social media side of everything, and growing all that out. Essentially, we see it as 2 ways that people come in. One, directly from Airbnb, right? There's another group of people that come from, social media or blogs or Googling, or right. And so we've got 2 kind of approaches to building up this account, right? But when it comes to these social influencer stays, we always are getting these lifestyle shots of them using the property. And I think it's really big to, help put these guests in these experiences before they even book, right? And so if you can, highlight how, you're going to be potentially using the property and see I guess it essentially puts them in the mindset of, I can see myself doing the same thing, right? And, having this experience just like this person's doing. And so I do think that it's really important to, do that as long as you're doing it correctly, right? And so like I've seen a lot of people be very successful with like, if your go-to customer or renter of your property is going to be families, right? Having families go use that property and getting, shots of them, especially if they're, high-end shots of them utilizing those spaces, can go a long way to convincing them to pick your property over somebody else's, right? And so, I've seen other properties where they've got, an outdoor shower, and it's, a dad standing out there holding, his newborn baby kind of in the outdoor shower, right? And their go-to people are obviously families, right? And so it kind of helps with the whole branding aspect of like, okay, who is my ideal guest, and how am I going to market to them the best way possible? We've got another property called España Daga in Joshua Tree. It's got this little outdoor like yoga studio, right? So some of our influencers that have stayed there have done photo shoots of them doing yoga in there, and we kind of market it as like a wellness retreat out there. And, so having somebody utilizing that space, if you look, we have pictures of it with not somebody in it and pictures with somebody in it. And it's a lot more welcoming and inviting with somebody actually using the space than, not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's definitely something that I thought about as well. Like, do you know if there's any restrictions when it comes to Airbnb of having people in photos?
I do not. And we've never seen anything, right? I guess we'll find out if they ever kind of come after us. But at the same time, all of these people have licensed these photos to us because they've done these influencer stays and stuff. And so it's not something that we're, too worried about from that aspect. We also, call them out in the picture to give them credit for it. So I guess we'll see. We can have a conversation another time if we do get kind of shut down for it. But as of right now, I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, like Airbnb has like these funny things in their content policy. Like for example, the emoticons, like technically that's not allowed. I don't think anybody ever gets in trouble over it, but I was just curious if you had any thoughts on that. But
yeah, I haven't seen anything. And then the emoticons thing, I always go back and forth on it, to be honest. We're always trying to, optimize any way we can. And so, if it gets a little stale, I'll kind of try a new thing, kind of go back and forth, just testing out theories on, what's going to help, what's not. And so, some of them right now have them, some of ours don't. I'm in the process of taking them all out again to kind of see if that jump starts some stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think it all goes back to the algorithm, right? And what's going to, help push it and not. And they're obviously keeping track of all these things. And I think, if it's not working, the biggest thing you'll see is, a drop in the views that you're getting. And then you could just, change accordingly.
I love that the giant Connect 4 game that you have on on that one property. It's called I'm looking at it right now. It's the wellness one.
España Daga.
España Daga. Yeah, that's really cool. One thing I noticed too is you guys are crushing it with the captions. Do you write those yourself?
Yeah, I write all those.
Yeah, those captions are solid. That's something that I feel like a lot of hosts kind of overlook, or they just don't know what to write. But
yeah,
it can really help. And you were saying earlier, like you want to visualize the experience and put the viewer like inside the experience, right? To almost like make them feel like they're already experiencing it through the story that you're telling with the photos. And I think those captions can play a role there, because for example, you have a caption here. I'll just read it. Retrograde Retreat is packed with great amenities. Catch a meteor shower from our outdoor hanging bed, or take a shower while catching a beautiful sunrise. Because like you look at the photo and you see like, oh, there's a hanging bed, and I see there's a shower. Although you could even overlook the fact that there's a shower, because it's basically just the shower head poking out of a little wall. That could be missed. But then when you read the caption, it's like, oh wow, meteor showers. Like I didn't know there's meteor showers out there. And maybe somebody would have missed that it's a hanging bed, for example. There's little details that you might just not
Yeah.
notice when you look at the photos. So I think those captions can really contribute to, helping the viewer visualize that experience.
Yeah. And I think like, and you talking back to retrograde, like with all these properties, another part of our service, right, is the social media branding, PR, all of that, right? So we come up with all the names and the logos, and then we try to carry that personality through all the rest of the stuff that we do. And so like retrograde kind of has the same tone going through, everything that's written on the listing, right? And so it's like, even like the summary, right, kind of carries a certain tone through it, where it's like we're not so serious about everything, right? It's kind of a fun thing, right? We want you guys to come out here and have fun, and just kind of highlighting some of the stuff that we offer, and then again, just I don't know another term besides just the branding aspect of it, right? The more we can build that out and connect the same tone that we're speaking through social media and the videos that we're posting, and the summary, and then all the way to, like you said, the captions and the photos, then people that are looking to book see that all of it's so well thought out that this is going to be a good experience for me once I get there too.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
connect all the dots essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you go into so much detail and you put so much effort into creating and shaping the listing with the captions and the way you put the description together, people are going to assume that you're going to put a similar amount of detail to their actual stay, and if there's any challenges or issues that come up, it just gives you like a super professional image as a host.
Yeah. And I know that doesn't work for everyone, right? A lot of people too want that local experience of that local host and stuff, and like that's not exactly what we're going for, right? We want more of that professional experience so that people know that they're getting a really good quality stay every time. I think that's one of the downsides that a lot of people have for Airbnb is that you never know what you're going to get, right? And so also building our own brand of Hube and all the properties that we manage, a lot of the logos that we create all kind of are similar in the sense of the color schemes and the look of them and everything, so that people know that they're staying at a Hugh Homes property and they know what to expect, right? And so I also know that people can be very successful doing, things on their own and having pictures of themselves and kind of, playing that role of like, hey, you're going to be a guest at our home. And I think a lot of people also look for that, but there's room in this industry for, all sorts of different, plays on it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I mean, the more you get clear on who you're creating the experience for and who you're not creating it for, clearer you get on that is the more success you're going to have, right?
Correct.
What's that expression? Like you want to be a big fish in a small pond versus like a small fish in a big pond or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's relevant, but it just came to mind.
Yeah, no, I think more so like, jack of all trades, but master of none, right? Where it's like you, again, kind of going back to our original part of the conversation, where it's like, you don't have to appease everybody, right? At the end of the day, you've got one date to book out for your listing, right? You can only rent it out to one person. So, if you're going for higher end clientele, or you're going for this or that or whatever, like stick to what you're looking for, and you have a higher chance of staying booked more because you only have to find one person per date. You don't have to make every single person happy that's out there in terms of booking. Now, it's a difference in once they are booked and they're going to stay there, right? You want to treat everybody, as well as you possibly can and create these experiences for them and stuff. But I think a lot of people, have mistakes when they're trying to appease every single person that's out there. And when you're doing that, you're spreading yourself too thin. And a lot of times it's not one centralized idea. And so it's harder to portray that to those guests. And, they see that. Like I said, for us, we're always trying to really hone in on exactly who it is that we're doing this for. And then it makes it easier to, follow through with that.
Yeah, 100%. Awesome, man. Well, this was great. Very helpful to get your thoughts on all of this stuff. Why don't you let people know where they can find you if people want to work with you, they want to check out your Airbnb listings.
Yeah, awesome. So kind of two best places to look. Our website is www.hughomerentals.com. That's HYGGE rentals, RENTALS.com. And also our Instagram is just underscore Hugh Home Rentals on Instagram. So it's pretty easy to find us there as well. And we post, all of our different properties on there. We've got links to all the different, Airbnbs that we're working with and stuff. And so it's really a good follow because we're constantly putting out good content of all those different properties.
Awesome. So how do you pronounce, is that Danish? Like
It is, yeah. So I know I'm not pronouncing it the correct way. I think it's Huga or Huga. But I just think it sounds a little bit better with homes after it to say Hugh Homes. People say Higgy all the time. I think part of the fun part about it is that it is kind of a strange word and people can pronounce it however they want. I think it kind of helps grow the brand. And so, yeah, it's we just kind of let people have fun with it.
Yeah. And I noticed you kind of use that theme throughout your properties because you also have house spelled Haus, which is the German spelling, I think. And then you have the two little dots on the U, which makes me think it might be even Danish or Swedish, or I don't know, but it's definitely a different language.
Yeah. I like to kind of, again, just pull all of that together in terms of branding. We get pretty creative when it comes to the naming of these properties and the logos and everything. We have another one coming on board that's called Isla Zama or Isla Zama. In Joshua Tree, and it's going to be a really cool what's the name of it? What's the place in Mexico that everyone's going these days? Tulum. Yeah, it's a Tulum style or Tulum themed Airbnb out in Joshua Tree. And so we went with Isla Zama because Zama is actually what the Mayans used to call that area. Before, it was Tulum. And so we try to play kind of on, the theme of the property and get creative in the way that we're kind of naming it.
Yeah, I'm curious too, because there's España, which means Spain. And then there's Daga. What does Daga mean?
Yeah, so it means dagger in Spanish. I really wanted to put, some sort of dagger in the logo. The owners weren't really into that. So we kind of went with the logo that we have there. But the property's on Avenida La España Daga. And so that's kind of how we got into España Daga is the name of it. We've got another one out there called Melrose Mirage, which is essentially a, Hollywood Hills mansion looking place, modern, drop down in the desert. And so, that's where Melrose in Los Angeles and, Mirage being the desert, right? So we're always trying, like I said, trying to pull in, ideas from the property itself or the theme that we're kind of going with and, the area and kind of pull it all together for branding purposes.
Got it. Awesome. All right. Well, if you want to check out these Airbnb listings, and I highly recommend you do, it's just really cool to look at them and inspirational. So HyGGE.com. It's HYGGE and then homerentals.com. Also, you can go on Google and just Google the names of the properties like Retrograde Retreat, Joshua Tree, and Pride House, Joshua Tree, and then España Daga, Joshua Tree. I just Googled them right now on the spot as we were talking on the podcast, and I was able to find them all. So that's another way to find these listings too. So anyway, thank you so much, Bryce. This was really awesome. Love what you're doing. So keep up the good work. And
yeah, I appreciate it. It was great chatting with you about it.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, maybe we'll have you on again in the future.
I would love to. It's always good, passing off any knowledge that we have. That's one of the things I love about this industry is that people are so passionate. I told you before we kind of hopped on, the whole reason why I found you was because, one of your listeners and, she's been kind of on your podcast and stuff, for Mad Men Rentals. She was the one that reached out and kind of told me about us being on there. And then, I ended up having, about a 2-hour conversation with her, just going over, passing information back and forth, kind of helping ourselves grow. And so I think it's really special what you guys are doing, giving everybody a platform to be able to talk to each other on here and just pass information around so that we can all get better. I think the better we can all get and create experiences for people, the more Airbnb is just going to grow, and it just helps everybody out.
Yeah, 100%. Raise the tide, not just
exactly.
Awesome. Sweet. Thank you, Bryce. And to listeners, thank you for listening. And on Friday, Eric and I will be back with an episode of STR Conversations. So we'll see you then.